Hello you guys! Today I'm going to show you how to apply this awesome piggy nose prosthetic. This thing's amazing. It feels like skin. It's wonderful. So first you're going to take the prosthetic. This is a one size and it's a little bit too large for my face, but you know, you make it work. I'm just sizing it up. It's a little sticky around the edge, so I could kind of put it on and feel it out to see where I need to attach the edges to. First I'm going to take what's called ProZaid. If you've never used it, it's a glue that dissolves with alcohol. It's great to use with any prosthetics. It also can help you blend out your edge at the end, or after you apply your prosthetic. So what I'm doing here is putting the ProZaid on the center area where the nose is going to be attached, because I don't want to just slap it on everywhere. I want to apply it from the center of the prosthetic first and then out. And this is my first time using a prosthetic like this, so obviously I'm not a pro at it yet, but this is how I did it. This is how my teacher taught me to do it, and so yeah. So I take it and apply it to the glue area and try and get it laid out the way I want it to fit on my face. And then basically I have to hold it until it dries. So I sit there, press it down, keep it in place until it dries. This nose is heavy on the front end, you know, like where the front of your nose is, the holes of your nose are. So I wind up going in with some more ProZaid under there to help hold up the weight. Otherwise, I was afraid it was going to pull too hard on the bridge of my nose. So here, I'm just using a Q-tip. I'm going to lift up the front and just kind of add a little bit more to the underside to help hold it up on my lip, because it is too big for my face. So, I mean, I could have covered my lip with this nose because it comes down kind of far. But I wanted to kind of apply it to the front of my nose. So I put the ProZaid up underneath there and pushed it up onto the front, the whole side of my nose, if that makes sense. So, you know, let it dry. It takes a couple minutes. You want to make sure it's dry before you continue on so that it stays put. Nice views of my face there. I love it. At least it's the prosthetic you're looking at, not up my nose. This is how I tested to make sure that it wasn't going to fall off. So once I could do that, I knew that it was going to stay put. Now I'm going to take the ProZaid and continue to apply the ProZaid under the prosthetic. I'm actually putting the ProZaid onto my skin, not on the prosthetic. And I let it dry a little bit, like catch a little air before I lay down the prosthetic. Otherwise it may take longer to dry. So, and I had cleaned my face before this. I even took a little bit of alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and cleaned the area lightly. I don't like to put alcohol on my face, but I didn't want this prosthetic to not stick down because of, you know, oils from your skin or whatever. Now I'm doing the same on the other side, and what you're doing is you're working your way out from the center of the prosthetic. So I'm slowly applying and working my way out with the glue, gluing it down where I want it out till I get to the edges. And it just takes a little bit of waiting. As you can see, I was actually applying this really fast and doing this whole thing really fast because I had a house full of people and it was in the evening, and I probably should have waited for a better opportunity, but you know what they say about waiting for the perfect time, it never comes. So I didn't. I just went for it and fed kids and dealt with children and everything throughout the whole process, because you know that's what we do, mothers, you know. So now I'm using a blow dryer on low to kind of help make sure that the glue is dry underneath, and you know, just because I want it to stick down and not be gooey underneath. I was afraid that if I didn't make sure it was completely dry that it would not dry at all. So that's what I'm doing here. Here I'm just showing my daughter what I'm up to while I let my glue dry. So I'm double checking it right now, trying to make sure that I have worked the glue, sorry, of course as soon as I'm trying to record something I get a frog in my throat. So I make sure that I have worked the glue all the way out to the edges of the prosthetic. Now I don't mean to the flashing. There's a thicker edge around the prosthetic you can see there, and then a very, very thin edge. So you're not gluing down past that thin, I'm sorry, I keep saying edge, but the thin part of the prosthetic on the outside line. That thick part on the very edge of the prosthetic is called the flashing, and that will be removed, so don't glue that to your face. Now, this prosthetic is made of, it's a silicone prosthetic. It's amazing. It's almost like got a gel inside the nose. It feels so real. It is only dissolved with acetone. So now that that is attached out to my edge and dry and ready to go, I'm going to start gently removing the flashing, that very thick outside edge, with acetone on my Q-tip. And as you can see, I'm kind of rolling it toward on the edge. I'm not like rubbing or anything crazy because I want that edge to lay down. And what's so amazing about this kind of prosthetic is that if you do it right, which, I mean, this was my first time, but it came out pretty good even for my first time, it lays right into your skin and melts into your skin pretty much, so that way you have very little to no edge. Now the acetone obviously is, you're supposed to use 100% acetone, and I did, but I did not want acetone on my skin, so I was very careful not to take it past the edge and to just barely melt the edge into my skin, because I did not want to rub acetone on my face. So I mean, I don't know if it would have hurt anything, but I just didn't think it was a good idea. So I go through gently. There's a little break in the flashing where you can use the acetone to more easily dissolve and break that flashing in half, so it's not connected all the way around, so that way you can start to kind of gently remove it from one side and not have to try and work through a circle. And I'm sitting here talking with my hands, and I just hit the microphone. If you heard a bonk, that was my hand, because even though I'm using a mic, I'm still talking with my hands. So as you go through, gently make sure that you leave that very thin edge. If you dissolve it too close to where it starts to become the actual prosthetic, you won't have as good of an edge. And this, you know, obviously I learned through trial and error. I didn't realize in some areas that I got too close, like down by my lip, because I didn't have a lot of room above my lip for the edge. I felt like I got a little bit too close down there, and I had to use Pro-Aid to build up an edge and then smooth it out. And you know, it just takes a little practice. This is on the pricier side for a prosthetic, and I wouldn't necessarily want to do just practice on something like this. But you know, depends on your financial availability, I guess. Anyway, so here now I'm going, and the part on my lip, obviously that is going to be the hardest edge to work with, because I'm a chatterbox, as you can see. I'm still talking to people around me, and it's where you move your mouth and you chew and you talk and you breathe and everything. Even when you're breathing underneath the prosthetic, I put a tiny bit of a hole through the prosthetic using the acetone. But you have to be very careful, obviously. So you just, and if you snip the prosthetic before you've applied it, if you're going to paint it with an airbrush, you might wind up shooting it up your nose. If you're working on a model, you definitely want to be careful. But I did not like breathing under the prosthetic, because I feel like it took away from the integrity of the connection between my face and the prosthetic. So you just kind of have to decide what you're going to do with it, and just be very careful, because you don't want to shoot anything up your nose, and you probably shouldn't be inhaling acetone. So if you're going to open it up, be very careful if it's on your face already. I just held my breath and gently rubbed a Q-tip with acetone on you'll see inside the nostrils that there's a thin, just a very thin membrane that you can melt with the acetone, but it still didn't open it up very well, and I couldn't breathe that great, so it got a little humid under there, but it worked pretty good. So you can see, as I've been talking, that I've gone around with the Pro-Aid and laid down, I think I did the whole edge, even though some of it was so beautifully laid down I didn't need to. I went ahead and just re-secured it with the Pro-Aid, because I could use the Pro-Aid with alcohol as opposed to acetone to melt my edge down smooth. And then I'm just making sure it's super duper dry before I move on. So After you've dried it and you're sure you're ready to move on, make sure you powder it because that's all going to be sticky. The Prozade's nice and sticky. So get yourself a translucent setting powder. Make sure it's nothing that's going to be too cakey because I'm still planning on painting my nose and stuff, and you don't want it to get too you don't want it to look like you've powdered your face with flour. So this was a wonderful prosthetic, super comfortable, stayed put. It did not come off until I removed it. After this video, you guys should check out the video showing what I did with this prosthetic, the makeup that I applied to my entire face, the look I went for. It's a little creepy, a little killer pig looking. Got some clown menacingness in there, so check it out. Like, subscribe, and let me know what you think.
I scoop that ice cream, he licks the plate clean.